We are live.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome to Vancity Beats, Eats,
And more!
My name is Kazi. I am joined today on the show by my good friend Kyle, aka TooTall Strauts, who is a dancer, he's an actor, he is also an athlete, he's also a singer, I've learned recently. He is also a multi-dimensional mover who comes from the planet Zion and has come into this lifetime in a 6'9" meat suit, who has come to wow the masses with art, storytelling, and all the creations that you have yet to create.
Agreed.
Yes? Any more
Yes.
to add to that?
I like plants. Nope. Nothing to add.
TooTall is one of my old friends in Vancity. We are also here in his place in Mount Pleasant on the unceded ancestral lands of the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nations, what is colonially known as Vancouver, BC, or Vancity. And I've known TooTall for a while. We mainly know each other through the street dance community. I've known him as a dancer, and over the last decade of witnessing him in my life as a good friend and as an artist I highly respect, I've also seen him make major moves in his acting career. And he's done things like Midnight Man, The Predator, the major franchise from the 80s. He's done this movie twice, two different versions of it. And he was also on Are You Afraid of the Dark? And Kyle has really carved a path for himself and a lane for himself in character. And I think a lot of that has to do, especially with your movement background. So today on the show, we're going to get to know a bit more about him, his story, as well as get into a bit of a character workshop, which he's been teaching some people. And I want to learn all the cool things. So
Hi.
yes. Hi. How are you today, Kyle?
I am above average. Hi.
Yes, we love that. We love above average.
Yeah.
So, let's get cozy. I like this. This is very normal for us too. We like to, when we spend time together, we usually like to meditate, hum, play some sound bowls, stretch, have some tea. Let's start with talking about you in the very beginning, like the very beginning of when your alien soul reincarnated into this 6'9" meat suit, and you were born to two parents that decided to name you Kyle.
Yeah, and I have three brothers. We are all giants. I'm the tallest.
Latvian giants.
Latvian giants. I am a dual citizen of Latvia and Canada.
Yeah.
We're all tall. I'm the tallest of the lineage so far, as far as I know. When I was younger, my journey. Yeah, I mean, everyone talks about getting to know yourself. I didn't really feel the alienness in me until my early 20s. Truly understand what that even meant. And I was a professional lacrosse player. So that was the first, I played that through all my childhood. I played soccer and lacrosse. But that movement background was the platform that I used, and that training background, that discipline to train, is the platform I used for everything. So when I went to university and I got a degree, a double bachelor, I used that same training mentality. And then when I got into acting and into dancing and all of these other pursuits, it was that same training mentality that kind of built on the foundation of what I have become now.
Where did you grow up, and how did you grow up? And how did, I guess, creativity become part of your life from early on then?
I grew up in North Delta. It's a suburb of Vancouver. I lived right on the edge of essentially forests, the bog. It's called the bog. So I spent a lot of time in nature, and I've always been very connected with nature. And a lot of my insights and inspiration comes not just from nature existing, but being in it, and just being in the environment. I get a lot of creativity from that. Also, my parents, I have to give credence to. My dad was a musician growing up, and he backpacked all of Europe singing. and my mom was a dancer. Like, she danced a lot, and so I had, I think that was already kind of in my flesh puppet, ready to come out. And my dad got me a guitar when I was young, and I played guitar, and I've always been an avid music listener. And so there was already like all those little elements kind of percolating that led to me building my interests as an adult. So I had a pretty good
foundation.
Yeah, I had some good seeds planted that I didn't really know were seeds until I grew older and went, oh, look.
Yeah, and something you told me recently too was like, it's so ingrained in Latvian culture that everyone sings. Like, it's not like unnormal or people are really shy about it. It's just like part of the culture.
Yeah, it is a very sing-songy culture, and they have songs for everything. Songs for the sun, songs for the earth, songs for trees, songs for Christmas time, songs for when you're in love. So, yeah, that definitely, now that I've been to Latvia, as I've recently gone again, I definitely see a lot of how that is in me, and why my expression being the way it is the way it is, which just happens to be kind of funny that it's in a giant body.
Yeah.
Because you don't normally see most tall people say, "Did you play basketball? How's the air up there?" and a lot of tall people don't learn high levels of coordination. Even a basketball player learns how to be an athlete and train and be physically fit and play that game. But to learn popping, the dance style that I do, this is a high degree of connection and intricacy in the body that just tall people don't ever learn, because you're usually slotted into all the stereotypical things that tall people should do that I just never did.
Yeah.
Because of my upbringing, it was all about all of this flow and creativity and movement, and I'm also super stubborn. So anytime my parents told me I should do something, I was like, no, I'm doing this, and that's it. Yeah.
Just tell me about you as a child. Describe yourself as a child.
I was in trouble a lot.
Yeah.
I was always in the office.
Were you always tall?
No. I was taller than the average, but I wasn't giant young. My growth spurt at 15 was so fast that when I went to my doctor, he said, you need to stop playing sports or you're going to snap your Achilles tendon, because you're growing too fast, that it doesn't have time to settle, that it could just snap. And I was like,
wow.
Yeah, well, I'm not stopping. I never did stop. And that actually led me into being why I'm so flexible now, and how I found yoga and all that is because I was like, I need to know these forms to maintain my body, so I'm kind of glad he said that, because I did start stretching more because of that, and be more conscious about that, because I wasn't stopping. I was on a roll with my sport life, and I wasn't stopping. So.
Okay, so Kyle as a kid.
Kyle as a kid, I was in trouble a lot because I had such high energy.
This does not surprise me.
No, I had teachers tell me, I had good teachers and I had not so good teachers. I had teachers that were like, stop moving, be quiet, shut up, sit in the, like, they would quiet me down and close me down. And I had teachers that went, oh, Kyle, you have that energy. Do you want to go for a lap around the school? And they would just let me out of the class, and I'd sprint around the school and time myself and come back in and be like, and then I could sit a little bit longer and do the tasks I need to do, because I'd expended the energy, because I had so much.
You had the zoomies, man.
I had the zoomies as a child, and so my childhood was, I was always in the forest. I was always running and tag and adventures and bike rides, and I was a hyperactive kid.
So in terms of like starting to get into sports and movement and dance, like what was that, I guess, trajectory for you from young?
It was a very sharp change. I had grown up listening and watching Michael Jackson, and there's a lot of inspirations in music is coming. I was born in the 80s, but I was really a 90s kid.
Same.
So the 90s were super influential and very musical, and in every way our culture was musical. And so I was always into music, and I wanted to move to it. But when I stopped playing lacrosse, there's a sneeze right there, so that may come out. But when I stopped playing lacrosse, it was like this. I just quit.
Because you played from what age to what age?
I played for 21 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
From 3 until 23.
And why lacrosse? Why did your parents put you into that?
My parents both played a high level of soccer, and they played their whole life. And my dad always wished there was lacrosse when he was a kid. So when lacrosse became a thing when we were kids, he put us in right away because it was this cool new sport, and it was the Canadian official sport at that time before it was hockey. And so we played that, but parents were a lot of them were afraid of it because it's very violent. Because the original lacrosse was the way that warring tribes would fight without killing each other. They would have a lacrosse game, and whoever won they would settle disputes.
Oh, wow.
With a lacrosse game, but they were very violent. Like you wouldn't die, but you would get hit. Smacked.
Wow.
And so it's kind of in the heritage of the game, especially when I was playing at a young age.
So you played for 21 years.
Played for 21 years. And then there was a big breakup also in my life with a partner at the time. And I just was like, I have always wanted to dance. I need to learn to dance. And I started breakdancing. That was my first. I'd go to the gym every day, and I would go to the gymnastics gym, and I would do like air flares and all these crazy things. I'm going to be the tallest breaker.
And this was stuff you just learned from online?
Yeah, this was at the... first I watched VHSs. That's how I found popping.
Yes.
And then online I would see breaking, and then YouTube appeared, and that came into the world, but that wasn't until like 2006, 2007. And so I just started dancing, and that was a huge shift because my family paradigm was like, what are you doing? You were a lacrosse player, now you wanted to be a dancer? Like what? Then I snapped my arm in half.
Oh.
And I broke my radius and ulna in half and decided that breaking wasn't going to be the dance style.
And you did that from breaking?
From breaking.
Dude, I never knew that.
When I was at a gymnastics place doing backflips into the foam pit, and they replaced the bouncy pad without telling me, and when I went to jump on it and do a gainer, I didn't get any vertical. So I already started the rotation, and it was either I hit my head and break my neck, or I put my arm out and it just went poof, and it dangled, and I was like, get a picture quickly before I feel it, And so I have that picture.
Oh my gosh, actually?
Yeah, it's gross.
Only you would be like, get a picture before I feel it and I want to pass out.
Yeah, because before the pain comes, it takes a couple minutes for the pain to come. And then during this injury, I was like, well, I can't practice break. I was like, I found popping and really found this guy named Salah in Europe, and I was like, whatever that is, I need to do that. There's something, a magic about the illusion of the style and the way that they move that I was like, I need to have that coordination.
Could you quickly give, for anyone who's watching out there who doesn't know what popping is, like a very general explanation?
Popping is an umbrella style for many styles that include animation, boogaloo, which spider webs even further down into tutting, ticking, strobing, waving. Like there's all these mini styles, but it's a very highly coordinated dance style and highly isolated. There's a lot of like isolations where you move your body in ways that it doesn't move everything together. You separate everything to the music. And then there's like a funk element where the hit is involved. It's a very like funky dance style, but it takes a lot of coordination to do well, and it's one of the not one of the few. A lot of dance styles take a lot of practice, but it takes thousands and thousands and thousands of hours to attain even a slice of mastery in any of the forms. So that was also an attractive thing because it was such a challenge. I was like, wow, what a challenge to take on. I had this lacrosse thing, and I need something else now to fill my time and like learn and grow and challenge.
So you started getting into popping.
Got into popping. Started going to university at the same time. So it was my pursuit on the side of going to university, and I moved through that journey. It was perfect because that clubbing era through my 20s. I've never been a drinker, and I would go there, and everyone would just go there and drink, or you'd be dancing. And I couldn't dance properly, so like my dance journey was to bring myself out because I wanted to experience music. So as I was training, I was going out even more and more and more because I wanted to be in a public setting with music, with people, in community and dance. And so that was where a lot of my training was out dancing with people. Yeah, at the club, like hours. And I would sweat. All my stuff would just be ruined by the end of the night. And I'd be like, whew, that was a good night.
Yeah.
And then I started to take it more seriously and travel for battles.
Yeah. Who did you meet in Vancouver that also like started to teach you, or that you learned from and were inspired by?
I went to some, so in going to the clubs, I met these people who I saw doing these styles really well, and then they had battles and really underground jams that I started showing up to and going, oh wow, there's a scene here. And there was ciphers, which is a circle of people all taking turns coming in and dancing. And it was the group Jameson from the Groovy G's. He was a big name back then because he was the one doing it the most with his crew. And so I met him, and I became friends, and then I would meet up with him. He'd be like, oh, come to Robson Square, before they did the renovations. And it was just old, like, dingy Robson Square.
Yeah.
And they would practice there, and I would come, like, play with them and practice with them. But I was also stubborn. I was like, but I don't want to, like, learn from them. I don't want to pay them. I was being a cheap student.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm just going to watch them and practice on my own and watch videos. And that's what I did until I met my crew, which is the Heavy Hitters. And they were like, hey, you want to join our crew? And for the first 3 months, I was like, nah, I'm doing my own thing. And then one day I woke up literally and was like, no, I knew it. It was like a calling. I was like, I need to join this crew. And so I said, yeah, actually, I will accept that.
Who was in that crew at that time when they were hollering at you?
AJ, Mega Man,
Yes.
Kid Vibrate,
Yes.
Luxurious
Which
Henry.
kid would have been really a kid?
He was a kid. I met him when he was a literal 14-year-old kid. He was the youngest in our crew, he was 14.
Oh my God.
And I was in my mid-20s. I'm 12 years older than him, so yeah, I was in my mid-20s. And and so that joining that crew now gave me a foundation to train, because we trained all the time together, and we took classes together, and we traveled together for battles, and really built our bonds, but also emboldened each other because we challenged each other so much, because they're still insane. Every time I dance with them, I'm like, oh my God, I need to go train more.
Yeah.
Like everyone's always leveling up. So it's been this great platform and community to just build.
Well, what I love about crew culture that happens within street dance and club dance community too is like each crew is kind of characterized by certain things that bring them together. What would you say that was for Heavy Hitters?
Honestly, most young people know this term, what a troll is, but our whole crew is a bunch of trolls. Like every single person is always taking the piss out of each other.
Yeah.
And
playing off of each other.
Playing off each other. Like everything becomes a joke. Almost everything. Even when we're being serious, there's always some joke happening in the background. And that's always been the glue that held us together, is like we're all a bunch of clowns. And so when we're together being serious and dancing, but there was always this clown element, because now we've all done different things in life and we're striving for different things, but that clownness and that funness is when we're together, and we're all full grown men now, so it's the beautiful part of that childhood essence that comes out when we're together and we play, that's kept our crew going this long. Yeah.
What would you say is the things that you were learning about yourself and your body as you were transitioning from, like, you know, athlete movement, lacrosse, to then this exploration into popping and dance?
So these dance styles and the tech, like just to do a hit, to learn to do a hit, took a long time, because it was like, pretend you're grabbing a pole and flex and then relax right away. And now do that really quickly. So it's like boosh, flex, relax, flex, relax, flex, relax. And you just had to do this hundreds of thousands of times to get it. And then now it's like, no, it's your tricep. Now you're a straight arm. This is a different hit when you're a 90 degree than when you're a straight arm. And so I had to practice the techniques, and now turn that into a dance move and an angle. And there was so many that the training from the movement background was just like, okay, well now I have to find a new way to train these things, but keep them fun, because I lose interest really quick if I'm not having fun. I'm not I can just train hard
and drill the same thing.
That's not me. If I'm not having fun, I'm like, whoa, look, colors.
Yeah, distracted.
The sun. Let's go play over here.
Yeah.
So that was a hard part for me, and I had to shift, and I had to grow in those ways because I needed to train. But I found ways to make it fun, and it's through music. If I'm always getting new music and being inspired by music to move and feel a different way, I would take that feeling and I became, now I'm going to train these things to this song, and I could do this. I'll just play the song 5 times in a row, and like I'll just stand here and hit like a bunch of times with my arm until it looks like what I want it to look like. So yeah, that's how I kind of adapted that. And the training mentality from lacrosse was go till exhaustion. So like if I'm throwing a ball at the wall, over my hand, over here, switch arms, underhand. I would do all these until my arms were literally sore, and I'd be like, okay, now I can go stretch, now I'll go eat, now I'll go hang out. Like I did my part for the day, so it was just the same with dancing. Even acting, it's the same application of like train the techniques, you know, do classwork, but also I stand in front of the mirror and be like, I just get weird because you have to know what it feels like to go into those spaces regularly to be able to do it quick when you're on set and they're like, okay, Kyle, we're ready for you in 5 minutes. And you have to come on set and just be there. So you need to be practicing it so you know how to just be there as quick as possible when you need to be. And not like, sorry, I need 20 minutes. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars and all these people working. They're not going to, you have to be ready. So that training mentality again, kind of, I could apply it to all these different modalities.
So cool. Okay, little backtrack. So then now we're at around, mid-20s-year-old Kyle, TooTall, and you're getting into dance. And this is actually kind of around the time that I met you because you had finished your degree. You were substitute teaching because you got a degree or a master's in education.
Yeah, a double bachelor, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then you just went full into acting. Like, when did that decision happen and why? Like, how did you know? So
it wasn't just a decision to like, I'm going to be an actor, now I'm an actor.
Yeah.
There were so many barriers to get around, and a lot of the industry is quite stereotyped in the sense that, okay, you have a certain look or an ethnicity or a thing, and here are all the characters that can apply to that. I'm a tall, bald, white guy. So you have to fight against your image, which sounds like a weird thing, but you really have to bring your character out to put that in front of your image so that they're judging and placing you in those roles based on your character. But to do that, there's a lot of training and a lot of refining that has to happen to even get to that level to be there. So there was the transition was kind of gray and then it was sharp. And how it happened was I was working construction on the side for many years because it was one of the only jobs I could I was working with a friend and we were outside a lot, but it was really taxing on my soul.
For sure.
Because I just wanted to be creative. I wanted to do creative things every day, all day. And to other people, like, oh, that's what kids do. Well, I'm a giant child, and I want to do that every day, and I want to get paid to do it because I'm good at it. Yeah. And the time it happened was another breakup, which is really a little synchronous pattern that happened, a big breakup. And the day after, I booked my first big role as a character, a creature, for The Midnight Man. And that 1 month to make that film in Winnipeg, it was an amazing experience, but it paid me enough for the year to get new headshots, to get into classes more, to reinvest, and also to take the time off to train and do those things because you need the time to do those things. And when I did that 1 year transition, it was like a hammer. It was just more opportunities, and the more time I had to train, everything spiraled from there, and I started getting more opportunities, and I booked another job, and I booked another job, and then I got more money and more time to keep doing these things.
Even before Midnight Man, were you like...
I was training, yeah.
Because you didn't go to school for acting.
No.
Okay.
No. I took theater when I was in school, but no, I never took a formal, I didn't go to like a university developed program. I trained in every studio in the city, but that's still not like the degree where you go to Toronto or you go to New York, you go to wherever, and you do like a couple months in a row. I never did that.
So was your foot in the door into the world of getting more into acting as a result of, like, for example, living in Vancouver? A lot of people get into like background work. If you're a dancer,
I did background.
I
did start in background.
Yeah.
But the irony was I was too big for background, so a lot of the backgrounds they couldn't even use me. They would tuck me in the corner because I stuck out. Yeah. And while I was on set being background, I would kind of show my stuff. I would dance in the corner and like move and just kind of be weird and show people I wasn't afraid to be a light. Because there was a lot of resistance to me being a light, because they're like, who are you trying to get attention? I'm not trying to get attention. I'm just being me. This is literally how I operate. And this is why I should be on camera, is because this is my natural state. I'm not trying to be a character. I am one. That's just the truth of it. And so when I was training, that was the boon, was my confidence. A lot of people had a lot of skill, but they didn't have that confidence. They're like, this is me, and just, I don't care if you like it or not. This is what it is. And so when that shift did happen from doing background, I did special skills where I would be like, I'm the giant demon thing, and I'd be like, and do something weird. And then there was people who noticed it and were like, hey, good job today. Like, that was really cool what you did. And so I didn't even know creature work was an avenue. I just loved acting. I loved the connection between people, and to be high emotions, low emotions, explosive emotions, passive emotions. I just loved that range because it made me feel alive and human. And so when I found creature work, I was like, this is what? And so I did a lot more research into it, and I realized I'd been watching this guy named Doug Jones my whole life, and he did everything from Mac Tonight, which was a McDonald's ad in the 80s, to the fawn in Pan's Labyrinth. So he did all these cool creature things, and he'd made a whole career out of it. And I was like, I want to do that. Like, I have my own light in that realm to bring. And so when I finally started getting opportunities to do that, i.e. the Midnight Man, that's when that shift happened, and that allowed me to reinvest. And now I do roles as people. It's just the creature stuff. I already am an alien in my soul.
Yes.
Like, for anyone who meets me, it's like, there's like this alienness, and I believe it. It's not something foreign to me because I feel it from the inside.
You're like, I'm not from this planet.
Yeah, like whatever I am, like I'm here now in this thing, but it just feels, I feel like I'm here to do this. Like my purpose is to be in the film, in the medium of film, to inspire people and uplift people and change perspectives through the art form, which will include, movement and acting and performance and So that shift was also where I got even more confidence and emboldened, like, the universe is looking out for me to give me these opportunities, and if I'm ready and training and actively pushing towards it, then when I get the opportunity will succeed, and then there'll be another one, and then that'll succeed, and this has just been the journey of building.
Yes, which is so cool, because then after that, then Predator started happening.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
So that first one, the 2018 one, was a crazy audition because it kind of came out of thin air. And it was through a background agency here that went, hey Kyle, some people in LA were talking about this project. I can't tell you what it is. And she's talking to me on the phone. Can't tell you what it is. But if you're interested, we'll send you the information. Yeah. And so they sent me the information, and then I had to send I had to make a bunch of movement videos and did a bunch of stuff and sent it to them. And then they said, yeah, actually they're really interested in you. And they submitted me into this casting, but didn't tell me what it was. Still. Yeah. And apparently there was 3,000 people who were entered into this casting. So it's like, whatever, like if something happens, cool. And then I get a phone call, and they're like, hey, you've made the top 5 choices in North America to be cast as the Predator, and we're flying you to Los Angeles next week. And I was like, oh, this is real. Oh crap, this is real now. Yeah. And I stopped, told my friend I wasn't working, or I wasn't doing anything that week. I spent every single day in the gym in front of a mirror, like playing. And they flew me down, and I met these other giants. Everyone there was 6'9", 6'10". They were all giants. And we had a Krav Maga fighter. We had a parkour athlete. We had an ex-NBA player.
Wow.
So there was all of these high-performance people. And they were all great. I'm friends with all of them still to this day. They're all great human beings. But it was a challenge because now I was getting put up against people who were on that level. And it was a really, really long audition process that took all day. And I had drawn a book full of pictures and ideas, and so we had an interview, and I would show my pictures and ideas and what I thought I could be, and then we went to this parkour gym, which was like a gymnastics gym, and they made it like a obstacle course, and you had to move through the course as the character with what you think the character should be like. So they didn't give you any details. They said, yeah, you move how you think the character should be. And I was like, okay, can I go first? And all the guys stop and they're like, I was like, is that cool? And they're all like, yeah, sure. Because either I'm going to set the precedent or I'm going to burn. And I'm going to embarrass myself. And I didn't care. I was like, I'm here to do my thing, so I'm going to do it first. And the first part of this course was a drop through a hole that was 18 feet from the top of this onto a mattress. And I remember
you had to just drop, free fall
drop onto like a cushion. And I dropped from the cushion like this, and I went.
Oh my.
And rose slowly. And I remember hearing people, they gasped. They went, and I just like came up, and then I was like moving slow and hunting, and then like doing jumps and swinging around poles and attacking, like I was attacking. And one of the biggest parts that stuck out that they loved was they had some pool noodles. And I pretended to punch through a body, and I held the pool noodle like I was pulling it like a spine. And when I pulled it, I went, and held the spine. And then at the end, they were like, yes! Yes! And all of the other performers, they're not in the room. So they're all outside of this big garage.
And they don't
this
know.
is in Los Angeles. Like, it was a super hot day. They're all outside, but they can hear people yelling, and they heard me scream. It wasn't scripted. I just did it because I thought I was the character.
Yeah.
And they got so fired up that because they wouldn't let them see the performance, so you can't copy.
Yeah.
So they bring people in one at a time. But then every other person that came in,
scream.
they said, oh, Kyle did this thing where he pulls the spine out, so we want you to do that at some point. And so at the end of that, we had to do these stuff on harnesses. So we had to do actual stunts on harnesses. And I ran, jumped. They pulled me up 20 feet onto a platform, and I did a backflip off the platform, landed as the character, and then sprinted and did a jump attack. And I remember after all the other performers are watching this part, and they were like, I hate you. I hate you. And I knew in that moment, I was like, oh, I just killed it. Whatever I just did, I don't even remember what I just did, but I know I just killed it. And I remember sitting and watching them all, and not that I was like, oh, like I hope they screw up. I was just like, oh, he kind of fumbled a bit there. And because I could feel that it kind of got into everyone's head that I had come in with this fire because I was in my body. I'm like, I believe that I was meant to be here, and I believe that this is mine. And it wasn't to try and take away from the other's performance. I just felt that this was a part of my path, and I was there to get it. And so they ended up, because I was the only Canadian in the room, they flew me home because it was illegal to keep me there while they did the casting process. And then overnight, they're like, we're going to let you know in the next couple of days. So all the Americans stayed there. And I went home, and I just laid on my bed. I was dating someone at the time, and I said, I just don't want anyone to bother me. I need to lay here and visualize. And I just closed my eyes, and I visualized being the character. And then I got a call that day, and they went, hey, Kyle. Yeah, so we're super happy you came down and gave your best performance, and you really laid it out on the floor, but then I went quiet for a second. We'd like to offer you the role of the Predator. And I was like, excuse me? Because my heart had just sank when he said but.
Yeah, it's like, why did you start with a but?
And I literally went, yes! I was screaming, and
to the phone.
I put the phone down, but I screamed. My girlfriend ran in. Yeah. She knew exactly what it meant. She jumped on me and was hugging me. And I was like, hold on. Oh, hey, sorry, guys. And they're all laughing on the phone. They're like, no, that's exactly the kind of reaction we wanted to hear. And so, yeah, that was how I got that and opened that door. And I ended up meeting Brian Prince, who was from Atlanta, and we both did the role because there was a couple Predators and we both played.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he was one of the performers. He did parkour, and he introduced me to truly take parkour to the next level, because I had known about it and practiced a little bit, but once I saw that another tall person could do it, he really opened that door for me to pursue it as another modality to grow in. So yeah, that was how that came about.
I love when you told me the story the first time. I love how you reenacted it this time, because you went into like next level details. Which is so good. It also brings up this question. So I was hanging out with Sandra and Maria from the dance community yesterday, and I was telling them, I'm like, I'm interviewing TooTall tomorrow. Like, is there anything you would want to know about him? And Sandra, being Sandra, so funny, she just went straight into like the mechanisms of like the body and was like, for somebody who is so tall, like, I'm very curious how he has had to adjust his body or his movements so that he could get from up here down here quickly. Like, how it is that you have learned to work with your body to be fast when someone who's like maybe like my size or petite can do it in 2 seconds because of the proximity to the floor.
So there's this saying in kinesiology. It's called longer lever, greater torque. So the longer your lever is, the more torque you have. So if I'm to punch, my punch, if I can get the mechanism and the strength behind it, is going to have a lot more torque and power in it when it impacts you. But to do that takes more energy, it takes more refinement, it takes more technique, because if you can't do the technique right, then it's actually slower, because the longer lever will always slow you down. Now let's take that into the mechanics of the body. When I'm standing, I mean, my butt didn't develop strength like my brothers did. Like, they have a more developed like back end, and so I've always kind of had back issues because I do so much bending, and I'm not. I wasn't doing it in a balanced way, and so I had to really adapt the training. I had to rebuild the methodology of movement. So when I move everything, a natural human wants to move everything at once, but with popping, right, you move everything separately and break it down, but that wasn't just a physical thing, there was a mental thing that you have to be really slow. But also I'd watch these small poppers, like boom, 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 and to the same cadence and rhythm, I couldn't move to those because my longer levers took more time to get to those places. And so I had to find a creative way. So maybe it was like boom, boom, boom. I wouldn't need to go, I could go boom, boom, boom. I could take more time to move. So to do the same things, I just take it over a longer period of time to try and bring the same effect. But training speed, I did train speed. I still trained big angles, like using my full range of motion and being big, but I'm not trying to be big, I'm just doing full range of motion. So I would kind of trick that. So if a small person was being big, I can just go like this and it looks big, even though this is small for me. And then if I go big, so I just kind of adapted to find my strengths and use those for my performative elements. But really, I could never be as fast as a smaller person. Just mechanically, it's just not possible. But I found my way to be speedy as a tall person. But yeah, mechanically bending over and getting down is extremely difficult. And it takes a ton of energy and calories to do it, because there's so much involved in a big body doing that, which is why I've had to be really smart with yoga and all that to like maintain my body, because your body just gets beaten from doing it.
Yeah. What is your training regimen now? Like, how do you take care of this? Yeah. You do a lot.
Yeah, I do a lot. I train at a traditional gym for weights, for weight's sake. I train at the parkour gym for movement. I spend a lot of time in nature, and when I'm in nature, I'm not just like walking the foundational path. Like I climb around and boulder a lot and swim and do a lot of really fine like bouldering, like, you know, climbing up a rock, and like and it's kind of like a puzzle at the same time. It's a workout. So I do a lot of modalities in that way, and maintenance for the body. I do cold plunges. So I go out in the winter. I'll go to the river and the mountains and do plunges. But I like doing sauna to cold plunge. So now that that's becoming more of a thing in the city, I do a lot of hot to cold. I do a lot of yoga. What else? I'll even go to like sound baths where you go have like gongs and singing bowls, because it's not just your physical flesh you're trying to relax and keep fluid, it's your nervous system.
Yes.
So a sound bath is good for calming your nervous system so that you can operate from a place of relaxation, not a place of stress. Because when you create stress, you're creating cortisol, and the cortisol breaks down all your tissues and your functioning. And so yeah, I have so many things that come in to bring that balance. It's actually almost ironically overwhelming because there's so many. Yeah, but I do my best. I mean, it's not perfect, but I have enough things to know based on how my body responds, what it needs.
Yeah, you've built a really good toolbox of things that you could turn to.
Yeah.
What would you say at this point in time in your journey and career has been the most significant role that you've done that has really like challenged you or pushed you in a way that surprised yourself?
Different ones for different reasons.
Do tell.
Yeah. The obvious one in the movement category is the Predator franchise, specifically Prey. Because the way the suit was built, the head wasn't my head, the head was up here, and our head was in the neck. And so to make the head look at you, we had to do this and bend down and look through two little slits. So you're essentially doing the performance blind. But you had to mind map what your movements were. So if I was moving and like doing a fight choreography, I can't see the actor I'm working with because I'm like this, worrying about the weight on my head and all this mechanics, and I'm trying to do this thing. So they just have to respond to me. Hey guys, I'm going to try and hit you. I'm actually going to swing at your head, knowing where it is. So you're going to have to know my movements to dodge. And so you have other people's safety on board. So that it was just a really tricky thing to learn. And also just doing anything mechanically. I'm running straight. Don't hit the tree. Don't trip on that thing. And there was a time where they had an actual trap pit with a netting over it. So as I'm walking back, I didn't even see it, and I actually fell into it, which was a huge liability. Fortunately, I didn't get hurt at all because I was wearing a big suit. It actually is like a pad. But ridiculous things like that happen. But it was it's a challenge doing suit work, because what a lot of people don't realize is your body exhales heat out your hands, your feet, and your head. That's where you exhaust heat for the most part. When you're doing suit work, everything is covered. Your head, hands, and heat. So all the heat comes up and it channels up into your face, and all the heat comes out the only holes, which is maybe there's an eye or a slit here. So where you're trying to breathe, all your heat's also competing to go out that hole. So when you're like, I'll push the hole so I can get fresh air and not suck up my heat. And so it's extremely challenging to your body, because your body goes into a panic and it tells you, get this off, get this off, get this off. And you have to mentally do the preparation to be like, it's okay. And so I do a lot of breath work, and this is part of my meditation, is when I'm in suit work, why I don't talk to people isn't because I'm not trying to be a nice person. It's because I have to always be in this relaxed state to be able to remember everything I'm doing and perform and do high activity, knowing that I'm heating up and all this thing. So it's a mental game as much as it is a physical. So I'd say that's been one of the biggest challenges of my life. And well, I got this tattoo after the first Predator. These are the actual symbols from the original Predator. They actually wrote a language for the movie, and each one represents a letter. And this says zeal, to have zeal, because it took a lot of zeal to do that character and that job.
What's the definition of zeal?
Zeal, it's like to go at something as if there's nothing else in your way. Like to have zeal is to be zealous, is to go straight at your target with unwavering. So because it took, TooTall, a lot of zeal to do that job. I just wanted something to commemorate that wasn't corny.
Yeah.
Like a big predator face on the arm. I was like, nah, I want something cool and
It is cool.
cryptic that no one
really
knows unless they know.
Yeah, if you know, you know.
Yeah, and only one person on this planet has ever walked up and known what it was, and it was in the middle of India, in the middle of nowhere.
Really?
And she's like, oh, I've never left India, but I grew up on that franchise, and I know that that's a Z. She knew the first letter, and I almost burst out crying. I was like, oh my God. Like,
that's so
and when
cool.
she didn't believe me for the first day. When
I was
no,
the
I am the
predator.
predator. She's like, shut up. And I was like, yeah, I'm in the middle of India. I have no reason to lie to you. Like, but yeah, it was a really funny situation.
Wow.
But yeah, so that was the most that was one of the hardest challenging physically and mentally. But I've had a lot of other challenges in my roles when it comes to getting text into performance. Like when you learn acting stuff and you're reading text and you're performing with someone, a lot of the real performance does not happen until my partner is in front of me. So I can practice this with another actor, I can practice it by myself, and I can bring up the emotions and make it seem real, but it's not ever real until I'm with the person and we're rolling. And you have to just have this blind faith that your body is going to do what it needs to do to make it real. You have to have trained enough to know what that is in your body, but also to just let go and go, okay, now we're gonna now we're gonna have a breakup. Or
so what project was that?
There's been a couple. They've all been smaller projects and mostly indie projects. One of them was my own project that I did. One of my first films I ever made called Taking a Piss. Or no, so taking the piss is a British saying to kind of like make fun and play with someone. So mine was called Taking a Piss to be kind of meta, but it was in English. It was a comedy action where it was two contract killers who had fallen in love and decided they trained with special forces and they quit to be contract killers to go into business on their own. So it was just a funny story, but to get all the dialogue down, and there was a scene where they have a fight in the kitchen, a physical fight, and then they're eating breakfast because that's how they fight in the morning and actually like try and kill each other as like training. Yeah. And then they actually have breakfast and they have an actual argument. And so training that and having an actor to do it with, it was just like it was a lot. And it was the first time it was the first time that I'd really gone that far with it to feel what that would be like. And now I've been able to apply that to more projects, and yeah, I'd like to do a lot more. But I recently just did another short film that I shot with a really good actor friend of mine, and it's called a one-er, which means like we just roll and we shot it, and more than half of it is improvised. So we had the camera people follow us through a neighborhood. We went into a cafe and we ordered coffee and we walked all the way to this park. So you can't really make mistakes because then you have to reset the entire thing, and we only have so much daylight and it's an indie, so we got limited, So it was a huge challenge because it was a long conversation about a lot of really fun things that I already love to talk about, like UFOs and aliens and consciousness and like really cool topics. And I was like, I want to talk about that, and I'm going to make a film about it. But yeah, it was a challenge to keep it flowing and be organic, so we didn't have to restart each shot. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole other tangent we could go into for like 2 more hours. Is like how much TooTall is up to date of what's going on in space. Like he knows.
You know? Well, I'm from there, so.
Yeah. But I definitely want to spend the last bit of our show time together to get into character, like learning more about how it is that you get into character and some of the stuff that you've been teaching in these workshops.
Yeah, so I have started doing character workshops and creature workshops. And when the difference between character and creature is characters can be human. So when you're doing character work, it's like an eccentric human. Like I'm a big villain, or I'm playing God, or I'm playing, it's a really like big role as a person. Whereas creature is non-human. Yeah. So my creature workshops are to people who like to do physical creature work, like whether it's in a suit or if it's a special effects makeup just on your head and you still have your normal body. But there's a lot of it. I mean, most films that you watch, there's a ton of people playing these characters that need to be non-human.
Yes.
And so my creature workshops are about using all of these modalities that I've learned through acting, through doing popping and those isolated movements and kind of combining all of that to give people tools to dehumanize and be something else. Because humans, a lot of humans aren't fully aware of exactly what makes them human and how we identify each other. And it can start really simply, like how you walk down a street is how someone will identify whether you're a threat or if you're a passive, if you're walking a slow cadence. Are you walking a wide cadence? Are you shuddering? There's all these little triggers in our brain that go, oh, that person's unsafe. That person's not, there's no melody to how they're walking. I now should watch them more. So I take all of those psychology elements of human movement and I deconstruct that too to work with characters, because when you watch on a screen and you watch a character, I want to trigger those things in your brain that go, I don't like this. I don't feel safe looking at, like there's something, and so, yeah, it's really interesting that a lot of the creature workshops aren't just about like, I'm an alien. It's also tweaking the psychology of how to make people feel things.
Ooh, juicy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're going to do the something.
Yeah, I don't want to be human. I want to be.
Okay.
I want to
so
be
we'll
out of this world.
We'll just stand. You're going to stand.
Okay.
Because
Can
we're
you see me?
we're pretty much the same height, kneeling and standing. So see, a human stands. This is your anatomical position. Yeah,
This is my meat suit.
yeah,
my
you
flesh
see, you
puppet.
stand like this. So to dehumanize it, we want to change like the shape of your frame, and so we can do simple things like you can bring your shoulders forward, just like this, and just standing like that. Now just bend your right knee. Okay, and now when you're looking at the camera, do something with your mouth. Mutter, no, but talk to yourself. But don't, not loud, quiet. Yeah, but look straight at the camera, unwavering, and silently just mutter something. Okay, now just move your right hand a little bit. Stay in character, and keep muttering. Okay, now stand completely normal again. Shake that off. Okay, shake that off. Okay, now I want you to come like this. Put your hands like here, and now bring your knees down a bit, and keep your head down. Don't look at anything, and now slowly look up. And now slowly look down. And now just start vibrating your whole body. And now make some weird sounds. Okay, now shake that off. Okay. So a lot of what we're trying to start and build in a person when I'm teaching is not even just to do that, but the confidence to do that and not break. Like you need to go there and know that it's going to make people feel weird. And we innately as people are built to go, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want people to be uncomfortable. So that's a huge part of acting in general that people need to fight and build through, is to go, I'm going to affect people, I'm going to make people uncomfortable, and you just have to accept that, so that when you get into your shapes and when you're creating things and you're moving like, and you do patterns, like we also know patterns, so if I go like, we don't like it when there's uncomfortable patterns, so or just silence. People hate silence. They don't. They're like,
they get so uncomfortable.
Something's coming. Something's about to come. So you're playing with all of these modalities, and so attaching all that to your body. When you change your shape and you make it asymmetrical, and you do a pattern, whether it's your hand or a movement, or you're just dead silent in whatever your shape is, all of that is building tension, and with that tension, that's your power. So you carry around that tension until you decide when to release it. And so if I was doing a film, I try and read the character and go, okay, well, where am I building the tension? How do I get people to feel a certain way about this character so that a lot of people think it's just like, oh, I'm just, grrr. Like when I'm the predator, I'm thinking more about how he breathes. Like, so my whole body is embodied in it. So I'm not just like, I'm not just moving like a person would. I have to like, I'm a 1,000-pound alien with armor and blah. And so when he breathes, and like maybe he got like stabbed and fought here, so I might just in my mind be like, there's a bit of a limp here, and it hangs a certain way because he's got scars and like tight tissue or something. But like he can still like but it always will fall back into this posture. So there's all of that going on in my head when I'm trying to build and when I'm trying to build something for someone else. Is like, what's the story behind why you're doing this? Like I can create a cool shape for you like you did, but without a story, it's hard to really get invested in what is happening. So yeah, that's like a little introductory taste. But in just shapes, it's about changing away from the human shapes and also doing things like turn side profile. And like, we'll close this up, and now keep your head down and don't move, and just slowly look at the camera. Slow. And just stare. And now smile really slow. Now laugh. Now look back straight down slow. And maybe something tweaks in your body. Right? So it's also about changing your profile as the camera. So it's not just about your shape. And it's also, now face the camera. Here's a little quick tweak. Face the camera of your body. Now completely eliminate your arms behind your back.
Like that?
Like hide them. Don't let anything see them yet. And you stand like that long enough and you look at someone without arms, it starts to make you uncomfortable because you can't really tell what's happening with, and I can't really see, I can see your fingers, you're cheating. So you're trying to hide it and like almost hold them back like this. Like you're trying to like create a shape.
Prayer hands behind
and then like maybe stick out like this. So now you're doing, if you did this on the street, there's going to be an issue with people walking by. They're going to be like, what's going on? Like this is, what are you, peacock? Are you safe? That's always what happens. Like, is this safe? Right? So you're changing the profile and the shape enough that people are like, I don't like this. So this is the basis of every creation that I start with, is I play with a bunch of shapes that are kind of like, if I'm doing a scary creature, I want it to be uncomfortable. So I have to find the starting shape or profile that will do that. And so this is what I think about in auditions, is like, ooh, how can I do something unsettling? And I've done some auditions where I don't do anything. I just stare at them. I don't do anything. Literally nothing. And you'd think like, well, that's stupid. Anyone can do that. Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. And that's the flex, is that doing nothing is doing everything. And sometimes doing everything is doing nothing, because they're like, that's too much. Like, you're just waving everything around. That's not interesting. So you're trying to kind of get the psychology in there and be interesting. And sometimes doing that is being really, really still. So yeah, it's just. Is this some nuggets?
Oh my god, just a little nugget?
Just a couple nuggets?
Wow, TooTall.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing that.
Hi.
Where do you want to take all of this? What is their highest goals or aspirations within this? And like, as you're talking and as you've been talking, I think I've been making these parallels between like, seeing your journey as a whole, and how like there's a sense of like competition that has been built in with you from doing sports and athletics. And then when you talked about like the mental game that you'd have to play to be mentally strong, it made me think of you in the battle, in dance battles, and how you've had to tap into that part of yourself. And so now with where you're at, what is it that you'd like to accomplish? Who do you want to be within that world and in that industry? That's a lot of questions.
I don't always resonate with the industry as a whole, because it's a monetary industry, it's a business. And so that's been a big challenge also, is learning the business of what it is to be an actor and performer. and know your rights and know when to stand up for yourself and know which hill to die on. You know, you got to know that. But what in an art sense, I just want to continue to grow, and which is like part of my singing journey. I do throat singing, and I've trained that because I also want to be more in a healing modality. I don't just want to do performance so that I become famous and people know me for a thing, because that doesn't actually bring me fulfillment. What brings me fulfillment is knowing that I'm either healing people, inspiring people, or changing their mind on something to be a more conscious person, or just have a wider sense of vision to see the problems in their own life and the problems in the world more cohesively, so that we can grow and become closer as humans, as people, and, you know, have a lot less divisiveness. So that's a really like broad spectrum answer, but with my art, that's what I want to do. But in terms of like my movement performance, I would love to do more creatures, more characters, more traditional characters. I really want to do more character work as a person. I love playing villains because there's a lot more play traditionally in those roles than the good guys. So I like to play a lot, so I do like doing more villain stuff. In creatures, there's a bunch. I would love to just kind of spiderweb into a bunch of different franchises, like Dune and the Aliens franchise. Like, there's so many cool things to be done, but honestly, it just comes down to I want to play with other creatives who are leveling up their game. So all of these people who build these creatures and make these characters, I want to work with them so that we can collaborate and see what kind of magic, like, I know there's things out there that they haven't created yet and I haven't created yet that will only happen when we come together to create it. So that's where my mind lives, is that I want to continue to grow and level up to create characters that make an impact. That's probably the best answer.
And in what way are you leveling up yourself right now?
Just honestly, it's consistency. So, like, you know, back when I was a trainer, way back in the day when I finished my degree, it's you don't get fit from training hard. You get fit from training consistently and knowing how much rest you need, because you need to rest in there too. You can't just like beat your body and then you're fit one day. It's actually in your sleep cycle when everything comes together to like build your strength. It's not in the training. So in my acting, it's in the sleep cycle of it that I have to look at everything. Okay, I'm learning to sing. I'm upping my dance. I'm going to acting classes. I do improv comedy. I'm doing all of these things that I know are building me more as a person, and that is my offering, is the person. So as long as I'm training them all consistently and still extending my networks to new artists and new opportunities that the world shows me, then I can continue to grow. And I'm just taking one step at a time. Honestly, the world's very unpredictable right now.
Fully.
And I don't try and think too far in the future, like my 5-year plan, my 10-year, That's not, I just don't think like that. I'm going, okay, well, what do I want to do in the next couple months?
Yes.
Like, I can keep training. I want to be a good, loving, open person. I want to stay healthy. I want to eat good food. I want to make good food. I want to collaborate with good people and have all of these consistent training modalities so that when the opportunity comes, I can, it's not about, oh no, like, oh, how do I going to do that? I don't need to think anything. I just go, oh, here it is. Let's do it.
You don't got to get ready if you stay ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So good. So for anyone out there who's watching, listening, thank you for tuning in onto the live stream. If someone would like to get more into acting or like tapping into community here in Vancouver, where would you recommend maybe taking some classes or joining like improv or comedy or acting community around here?
So for comedy, I do comedy with Blind Tiger. That's a personal choice. There's a few comedy avenues to take. I do improv, but Blind Tiger has some of the most incredible teaching staff I've ever encountered, and they do shows at Sunday service at Fox, if you've ever seen those. But yeah, Blind Tiger for comedy. For acting, that's a preference thing. I don't know who to shout out because I pluck gold nuggets from each school that I've trained with. They all have something different to offer, and I think that's just the chemistry thing that you should just go out and follow your gut and follow with the people that you really connect with and move in that way. That would be my take. In dance, I mean, yeah, the community isn't that big, but it's really tight, and it kind of commingles. All the styles commingle. So you could go to Robson Square, you know, on a Wednesday and meet, just go talk to people, and you'll find out everything you need to know because the dance community is just there. But yeah.
And any artist right now that you're feeling really inspired by or moved by in Vancouver?
He's not in Vancouver. His name's Kalen Ellis. He's a musician, and his beats are just obscene. And
yes.
I looked at my like Spotify recap, and
of the
it's
year
like,
of 2022?
that's my number one.
Or 23?
Yeah, I was my number one listened. Was the beats that he's making are just insane, and so they are inspiring my art because I use that when I'm training, and when I'm like creating creatures, or if I'm dancing, like all of that is one thing for me. It's not. It looks separate because I'm doing all these different things, but it's all building. But yeah, that's my number one. In Vancouver, there's a lot of talent here, and they don't always mix. Like it's this big pot, and there's all these people, but it's not actually.
They're all in their different pockets.
Yeah, it's not mixed yet. I would love to see that mixing happen. And there's so many different modalities I look at, like a painter or a mover. I love Rena.
Yeah.
Rena Pellerin. She does voguing and whacking, and yeah, just her spirit, who she is as a person when she's moving, is just that inspires me every time I see her move. Angel Cow, who she does a lot of like abstract caricatures that I really love. That kind of drawing and painting style, sketch style. Who else? Yeah, there's a lot. I'd have to think a lot more on that, but yeah, those are that come to mind in Vancouver. But yeah, Kalen Ellis is my big music connection right now.
And foods. Favorite Vancouver foods? 3.
I would say Say Hey Cafe. Shout out to Say Hey Cafe.
Where's that?
That's in Chinatown.
Is that the place with sandwiches?
Yes.
Across from Fortune?
Yes.
Ooh, I've never been.
Yeah. They catered my first film.
Yeah.
Which is also why I shout them out, because they were just super cool about it. And their sandwiches are actually incredible. Also, a place on Canby, it's like a South Asian inspired.
What is it? Is it Malaysian food?
Kind
like
of.
Hawker
Hawker
style? Hawker Delight?
No, Potluck Eatery.
Oh, yeah.
Potluck Eatery. And also, there's a place, actually I don't even want to say it, it's a sushi on Richards, and if you can find it, it's a little hole in the wall. I don't want to drop it because I don't want it to get too busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, their sushi is fire. Yeah, that's my drops for now.
I like all your drops.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated this time where you could share your stories and teach us and just let the world know a little bit more about Kyle, aka TooTall, aka Kyle TooTall Strauts. Big shout outs to everybody who's tuned in on the live stream. Thank you for spending time with us. And yeah, this has been episode 7 of season 2. If you want to learn more about Kyle, you can find him on Instagram at actor Kyle Strauts.
Yeah.
And see and be in the know of more of his projects and what he's up to. So yeah, this has been another episode of Vancity